Hey everyone, Mike Heck back, talking about the hyperactive hypercube or mega hypercube that I've been working on, and a couple other things. First of all, almost all the parts are going to be here before the end of the year, supposedly, as long as they clear customs, because some of them are coming from Banggood, which is a Chinese company, and others of them are coming from the American arm of that Chinese company. So hopefully it means that they don't have to sit in customs for too long. The other thing I've been looking at is a standard build plate looks like this. This one's about 9 by 9, 200 by 200, usually has 200 millimeter top side. And I was actually going to throw this on the Mega Hypercube as my initial build plate because the build plate that I want to use is 1 foot by 1 foot, or actually 16 inches by 16 inches deep, because it has to have the room for having the screws and the springs and things like that so that it can be leveled. I've been sitting back and thinking about what I'm going to do to actually create the build plate. And when I looked at 16 by 16 or 24 by 24 aluminum sheets that were a millimeter to 3 millimeters thick, they run around 150 to $150, depending on where you get them and what you're actually getting them for. For example, if I wanted to have it custom cut, it would be a little bit more to the 16 by 16 with the correct depth. The thing that got me thinking then was I thought, well, I had started to make a SLR printer using a projector at one point in time, so I had some sheet metal in my garage. Looked at that, it was 1 foot by 1 foot. Basically the full size of this thing, because there's about an inch usually on each side of the build plate, right? So then I started thinking and trying to figure out what I was going to use to create the build plate. And something some of my friends know about me is that I don't let old technology go very often. I'm getting better at that, but it's come in handy because what's going to be the screen holder when I get the other two pieces printed out on my resin printer. This switch came from an old power supply. The power supply plug-in piece came from an old power supply from a computer. And that got me thinking, if I'm upcycling or recycling computer parts, why not look at the actual metal cases that the computers are actually put in when you build them? And thankfully, I've built many full towers over the years. So I present to you what's going to be my build plate for the Mega Hypercube, or the Hyperactive Hypercube, if you will. I need to cut it out. I'm using my Dremel right now to cut it. It is, I believe, an aluminum alloy. It's not horribly thick, but it does have some rigidity to it. So I'm hoping that with the addition of the heating pad, as well as the heating pad insulation, that it will be fine to actually hold a 12 by 12 mirror that I'm going to get from Michael's, the craft store, so that it can actually print on a mirror that's then heated. So realistically, this just becomes a giant heat sink that allows the heat to come through and not crack or damage the mirror. Um, yeah, I think that's about all of the updates for today with that. The other thing that I've been doing recently is just doing some designs for very odd things. For, like, my wife has a set of potion bottles that she's got from Halloween that she wants to display, so I'm creating a little shelf for that. The printing on my current FDM printer is at a standstill because I broke the pin on the BL Touch that I have as the auto bed leveler, and there is no place right now that has the BL Touch pins that are able to ship them out in anything less than a week or two. So I'm waiting for that to come in, and hopefully that'll be by the end of this week. Fingers crossed. So that printer will be back up and running. The Elegoo Mars is still working extremely well, especially after replacing the LCD screen, because my old one had a crack going through one part of it. Hadn't been affecting the print quality too terribly much, but I didn't want to go and risk that it would. So realistically, I'm not printing any more cosplay stuff right now. Like I said, even something this small, I had to cut down into 4 parts because it's 4 equal parts, right? To actually get it to print. And then I'm super gluing it, and then I'm putting epoxy resin on the back to give it a little more strength. But this is going to be the screen holder for the TFT 35 V3 that I have coming with the Big Tree Tech SKR 1.3. And I went with the 1.3 and 2208 drivers simply because it was less expensive, and it is what a couple of the people that have built these cubes have actually used in the past. So my thought is I'd go with what people have been using rather than try the new, what is it, 1.4 turbo motherboard. So once I get that motherboard here and a couple other parts, I got one and had some issues with it, so it's going to be going back to Amazon, and I'm going to get another one. They said it should be here by the 10th. Once I get those and can get it all hooked up, we'll be testing the old PrinterBot NEMA 17 motors to make sure that they're still working and that they're still working in the way that we need them to for the Hypercube. If they do not, I have a single newer NEMA that will work for the extruder, and I can always go out and look at buying more. Hopefully I won't have to do that, because I think if I buy any more computer parts for this printer, my wife is going to go insane. That said, she is a saint for letting me have this project. I am super excited to get this done. I am hoping that in the next 2 months or less that you will hear me from wherever you are screaming with excitement as I print my first Benchy on this machine. And then going from there, I'm going to, I think, attempt a full-sized single print Mandalorian helmet or X-Wing helmet for myself or for my friend Patrick Baker, who is looking at doing some cosplay just like I am. With that, stay safe, stay healthy, and if you have any questions or comments, or you have any ideas for me on how to make sure that the Mega Hypercube or Hyperactive Hypercube, I'm not sure which one I'm going to go with, performs well, please let me know. Other than that, leave comments below, like, follow, all that fun stuff, and we will see you later.